Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Pineapple Podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, Nick Skalkos. Nick is one of those guys that are basically pioneering this world of multifamily. He started from basically figuring out himself today to where he's all about developing and growing and really helping as a community leader in terms of helping people along with building his own business. So again, welcome, Nick. Welcome to the Pineapple Podcast.
Hi, Mitch. Great to be here. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, my absolute pleasure. So, Nick, I really want to jump into this whole world of how do I become an investor? I mean, you've over the years you've refined your strategy to where you are today, but I really like people who want to understand your story from the beginning because, as you can appreciate, a lot of the people here, they're still finding out, well, how do I invest? Why would I invest? And there's a lot of uncertainty. And I think we all, experience that uncertainty at some point in time. So, let's go back a little bit in history, Nick. Tell us a little bit about the Nick when he was deciding to become the real estate investor.
Well, thanks, Mitch. I really appreciate the opportunity to tell you my story. And it all, really it all began with when my parents immigrated here from Greece in the late 60s. My father was abusive and controlling, so he wanted to separate my family from like my immediate family from, our family in Greece. So he brought us to Canada, which he successfully had done. And all my siblings, there was 8 of us. We grew up in a violent household. So by the time I was born, police had intervened and we had moved into a house for sheltered women and children. So I
Right.
grew up in these homes there to support battered families. And then once we sorted that out, my mom raised the remaining siblings on her own as best she could. I unfortunately don't have a close relationship with many of my siblings because they just had an awful upbringing, and I think they just want to disassociate anything to do with their history or family or anything. So unfortunately, I'm not close with my siblings, but I am close with my family in Greece, which is great because I love to vacation in Greece, and
Yeah.
I'm just sharing this with everyone because I think it could be easy to look at me and be like, oh, this guy's owns a lot of buildings and, he's very lucky. And, I just want to share that I had to overcome a lot of adversity as well. So,
And
for
yeah,
whoever is hearing this or listening to this, I just want, just
for
be.
sure. And I want to interrupt here as well because I think the lesson that you're giving us here in terms of life experiences is really important. This sort of experience early in life can do two things for you. It can break you or it can make you stronger. And I think in your world, you at some point in time, it looked like you recognize that there's strength in you and that there is a better way to do life than what you grew up in. And compliments to you because I know that's not a simple thing to do, and also just so you know, I'm also with a family of eight siblings.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's a lot. Are you close with them as well?
Yeah, we were very blessed, Nick, that my parents, they actually devoted their life to their family, and we've had an amazing upbringing. We were not, in terms of plentiful. I mean, single dad. And I shouldn't say single dad, single working parent. My mom took care of the family, and we grew up with really great relationships with siblings and with our parents and stuff like that. So quite blessed to have that opportunity, especially as we're talking today as well.
Yeah, I heard a statistic that that kids that grew up in the kind of household that I did are statistically inclined to either, repeat the same failures that their parents made or be, abusive or just I don't know. There's a stat out there, and I'm glad I'm not a part of it. I really am. And you brought up something too, that you mentioned that I saw the opportunity to not fall into that trap, and what that was my mother's undying love for me. She loved me
Beautiful.
undeniably. And that's all I needed. I was broke.
Yes.
I didn't care because I was living in government housing. So whenever there was, trouble in Southeast Asia or South America, I would get an
Yeah.
influx of these families moving into my neighborhood. So I was raised eating, multi-ethnical like cuisine. I was trying
Nice.
food from all over the world. All my friends were from all over the world.
Yeah.
So, I have I'm really fortunate for the life that I have. And another reason that, another thing that I had working for me was that
Mhm.
I had two brothers that were very supportive of
Right.
me, and they saw that I really took to music. And so
Ah,
they encouraged me to continue through that path, gave me drumsticks.
yeah.
They didn't have much to offer, but they did what they could. And they would take me to guitar lessons or drum lessons, and buy me instruments. So I was fired up, Mitch. I knew I wanted to be a drummer, and
Yes.
and I had a goal, and I was loved, and I had friends, and life was good for me. So I feel it's important to not carry that baggage of your past with you into the present moment, because the present
Mhm.
moment is beautiful. It's the essence of life itself. Dragging any past or history into the present moment is just unnecessary, but people feel the need to do it. So I've been very cautious of that. I'll bring up my past in hopes that someone can, get something out of it. But it's very important that I don't have it be a part of my story, that I'm not carrying all that heavy weight around with me, right?
That's right. And again, Nick, that is a valuable lesson in life. And I think Tony Robbins says it's best, right? Life happens for you, doesn't happen to you. And I think that to bring that into reality as well, your past is your past, but because of your past, you are where you sit today. And that's for everybody. So recognizing that, I think, is critical. And you clearly you've recognized the fact that what your upbringing was really tough, but it made you who you are today, so that you really appreciate what you have. And I think appreciation and gratitude is really what propels people when they really understand, what I didn't have, you wouldn't know, but what you do know is that you want it better. And I love the fact that you gravitated to music. I mean, music, as you know, it is a powerful thing for us as human beings, right? We all want music. We all love the music, the dancing, you shake, you move, you get that vibe, that energy. So I think that was probably your catalyst to keep you into that world of, you had a few really, I would say, angels around you with your mom and your brothers, just wanting you to be better than what they felt they were, right?
Exactly. Yeah, well said. Well said. And I felt like I had purpose, and I felt like I had a mission, and I felt like my mission was impossible. So I devoted myself 100%, and I learned some hard lessons through, aspiring to be a successful musician, which I ended up becoming. I have a platinum record with a very popular Canadian band. I've recorded on several records as well, theme
Nice.
songs for Scott McGilvery's HGTV show, Vacation House Rules. I've got a lot of
Yeah.
accomplishments, but wow, did I have to work to get there? I really did. It took me 9 years of being rejected from record labels, knocking on doors, getting them slammed in my face,
Yeah.
playing in front of nobody, constantly not giving up. I would go to conferences. I would get backstage and meet people I had to meet. I would be persistent like no one else, was ever. Like, it was unbelievable what I had to do. And on top of that, we were practicing almost every day, honing in on our craft, right? And then I was going
Yeah.
out trying to get it working for us. So I realized one day that I probably wasn't the best person to tell other people that my band was awesome. I thought, what I could use is a manager that would tell other people that this band is awesome, someone that people would listen to. So
Right.
I found my who, and he was covered in tattoos, and he talked Hollywood, and he just came back from tour managing a big punk band, and the way this guy was talking, I was just like, wow, you are very charismatic, and I think you're a manager. So he listened to our CD, absolutely loved it. and he invited me over to his house to nail down a strategy. So I went over to his house,
Beautiful.
got all these papers on the floor, and I'm sitting there, and I asked him a question. I said, how are we going to do this? And he looked up at me and he's like, no, 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 it's not how are we going to do this, it's who do we need to know. And he started writing down the names of who we needed to know. And
Right.
then we got to know these people. And then the rest is history. He got into the rooms of some of the largest record labels in Canada, Universal, EMI, Warner.
Wow.
And before you knew it, they were all bidding over us. There was a bidding war. They were taking us out to dinner, wine and dining us, like we
Yeah,
were
yeah.
odds with all these labels, right? It was happening. It was really happening. And then we ended up signing with Universal Records, and then boom, before you knew it, my dream came true. Our song was on the radio. I remember that day that song was on the radio. It was crazy.
Oh my
It was
God,
like, this is it. We
incredible.
got together, right? Yeah, we
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God. I could imagine what that must have felt like because that is not an easy accomplishment, especially in the music industry. There's so many people out there fighting every day to get that recognition, to get that. So, hats off to you. I think you just had that power of attraction. You just pulled the right people around you
yeah.
and they opened the doors for you. So definitely, man, that is wicked. That is absolutely wicked. Congratulations on that. That is quite the achievement or quite the milestone. But Nick, what I really like with your story as well is you've arrived. Like that is it. Like if you're the musician, that's where you want to be. But yet there seemed to be something that just inside of you wasn't satisfied, right? So tell us what evolved after this accomplishment.
Well, this was a tough one, Mitch, because here I am, I'm honing in my craft. I'm starting to produce bands. I'm writing for film and television. I'm writing for other artists. I'm at the top of my game.
Yes.
But I'm watching this television show called Income Property, and it's messing me up because I don't know why I enjoyed watching HGTV shows. I was a musician, but my wife and I would both watch renovation shows. And this one at renovation show with Scott McGilvery, Income Property, it got me because it was the only renovation show where he was helping people. It wasn't like, I want this countertop, I want this view. It was like, hey, we're in trouble and we need to call in Scott to help us with this mortgage.
Yes.
He'd come in and be like, you're sitting on a gold mine. You've got a potential unit down in your basement. So my wife and I are sitting in our bungalow that had a side entrance, that had a kitchen in the basement. And we're
Oh
just
my
like,
God.
interesting, right? So we watched every episode and then we saw Scott
Yeah.
McGilvery was coming to town. So I say, hey, let's go check him out. So we went to go see him. My
Right.
wife came reluctantly. At the end of his 2-hour speech of, basically explaining how he created wealth through real estate investing, she just tapped me on the shoulder and said, we're doing this thing and you're going to make it happen because you've got time and I got to go back to work. And in Mitch, honestly, where I was
Yeah.
skeptical because
Yeah.
honestly, life was good and I was in my comfort zone. And I was, like I said, I was at the top of my game. I was producing some great
Yeah.
stuff. But
Absolutely.
Sarah was not. She had gotten 2 degrees and went to school for years and spent a lot of money to get to be a teacher and
Yeah.
realized that she didn't want to retire at 65 and this wasn't the life she wanted. So from
Mhm.
that moment, my why was to get her out of her job and have real estate replace her income. So that was my why. So that's how I got started in real estate investing. And what happened is that as soon as you take your eye off the ball in music, the ball stops rolling. You have to
Ah,
consistently roll that ball or it
right.
just stops,
Right.
and the amount of effort it would take me to just be mildly successful in music today would mean that I'd have to sacrifice everything else, including real estate investing and potentially relationships as well, because
Mhm.
that's what it takes to get one of these platinum records. Where is it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and so I made, when I started learning about real estate, I just had limited beliefs and I didn't think that I was capable of investing in real estate. But once I learned that I can invest in real estate, using other people's money, using some of the strategies that, that
Yeah.
I've been taught through, the programs that I've taken, then, I mean, that was a game changer. So I took it seriously pretty soon after I joined a program, which is, by the way, the best way to get started in real estate investing is to join a program. be around people, because in between you and your goals are people. That's
That's right.
it. That's what I've learned. So, I thought it was
Absolutely.
about learning. I need to learn how to do this, when
Yeah.
really, in
Yeah.
fact, it's sure you need to learn, but you need
Mhm.
people. That's what you really need.
And I want to build on a few things here because, again, Nick, you're sharing with us, there's so much value in this. So, game changer. At the end of the day, you are really where you want to be with your music, but you're recognizing that the lifestyle isn't there that you want to accomplish. That's a big shift, when you give up that security for the uncertainty, because you know what? Let's face it, Scott is a charmer. He goes on stage, he can present, and he could move the world, right? And sometimes people feel it's probably too good to be true until you get into it. And compliments to you for taking that bold initiative to want to learn, because I want to I want to frame this in for people. Community, networking, talking to people like what Nick and I are doing today, this is how you build real estate to any significant level. You can acquire some real estate for sure with your own reach and with the circle of people. But when you start talking community and you start seeing how people can help people to really accomplish things that, previously would feel like it was a dream, this is how you push forward.
Yeah.
And you can share to us now what was that transition in becoming the investor from sort of your regular day job. You're in your comfort zone. The nerves that probably comes with that is like, am I doing the right thing, right?
Yeah, great question. So where I started was with no money, no knowledge. So that was the first thing I did, is I started to treat it like school. And I also knew, and this was important, and I understand this more now than ever. But a part of me back then also knew that I needed to become someone else in
Yeah.
order to do what I had to do. So, and that started with, knowledge. So I was like, I'll start with knowledge. But I also wanted to up my game. So I started running, long distance running. And I started 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 3, 5 kilometers. And then
Yeah.
eventually I would run 11 to 21 kilometers a day,
Oh my God.
just to do it, just to prove that, hey, if
Yeah.
I can do this, and I can invest in real estate, I'm becoming someone else here, right? I'm learning,
Good
I'm
for you.
improving, right?
Yes,
So
that's
I
right.
was like, hey, like I kind of like
Mhm.
this new me. So I said, I want this really bad. So I'm willing to compromise my beautiful house that we have, that space that we're not utilizing downstairs.
Right.
And not only am I going to convert this home into a legal duplex and rent out one of the units, we're actually going to rent out the upstairs unit and we're going to live in the basement. And that was a challenge.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
crying, dogs barking, unwanted tenants living above you, of all things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was trying to record music in a 1 bedroom apartment. It was very difficult. And but I did it. Actually, I've produced some amazing stuff in my 1 bedroom apartment. But the reason why I'm sharing this, Mitch, is because you know, in order to transition to where I am today, I had to make a big compromise, and that
Right.
compromise was my personal home, my space. That a lot of people are not willing to compromise that, and that's fine. But for me, like, that was stepping out of my comfort zone and having someone live
Mhm.
upstairs, because what that did, for one, is I think we all get caught up with bringing in cash when it comes into real estate, but
Yes.
it's also how much you keep. It's not all how much you make. So for me, it was like, hey, by having someone move in upstairs, they're covering the mortgage basically, and I've
That's
got the
right.
property tax and the hydro and the water and the gas.
Right.
Well, wow, what that did was it allowed my wife to go down to part-time. So that was almost immediate, and that was an
Nice.
eye-opener as well. So that was
Mhm.
the transition, was finding a single family home, purchasing it, at a single family price, converting it into a duplex, getting it reappraised as a
Mhm.
duplex, pulling
Yeah.
out that cash to pay for,
Yeah.
to pay for the cost of renovating that, and then having a tenant move in upstairs. to cover all the costs. That was our first move, you know, and I didn't have the down payment, so I borrowed it. I didn't have the money for the renovation, so I convinced my contractor to get paid at a refinance. I didn't have the money to pay for the mortgage, so I had to move in a tenant before I even moved in right away.
Right.
And it was, everything was, you know, ready to fall apart. So many
Yeah.
balls in the air, and constantly falling apart. But my drive and ambition and my goals were very, very zeroed in. And I had the support of my wife as well. So that was the transition. That was the very
Yeah.
crucial.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. That's house hacking 101. And we all have a story to tell, right? And a lot of times, we're hesitant in putting it out there, but we got to start somewhere. I remember, my wife and I, when we started as well, we were renting a basement apartment that didn't have a kitchen, because it really wasn't allowed. So you had to share. We had to wash our dishes in the laundry tub, and we saved every penny we could have saved back then. 5% for the first time home buyers, still possible. But it felt like it was like all the way up there, right? And then when you do it, it's like, oh my God, best thing ever. So, I love the house hacking that you did. I love the compromise because everybody's in a different situation. So you're right. If you're in a position where you don't necessarily need to give up your space, but you have a end game of how you're going to develop yourself, then that's perfect. The idea is to have a goal and have a plan. In
Yeah.
your case, you recognize where you are. You wanted to develop. So look at the compromise, because I agree with you. The musician needs the quiet space in order to develop. And you said, hey, you know what? I am going for bigger. I am going for better. I may not know what it looks like, but this is what I can do in my next step. And a lot of times I like to frame this with people: don't think too much into the future. What is the next 1 or 2 steps? In your case, I take the basement, we make this a reality, the cash comes in, and look at the accomplishment. It allowed your wife to go part time. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment, right?
Yeah.
And it also seeds in you the confidence that I'm doing the right thing. And
Yeah.
I love your character building. I'm going to run, I'm going to run, I'm going to run, I'm going to run. And then you start seeing, hey, I'm telling myself I want to do this, and now I'm doing it. And this is something, I'll explain it to you, and you'll probably see the value in it. So there's something called the terror barrier. That's a Bob Proctor teaching. So what it is really and truly, we all know what we need to do, yet we don't do what we need to do.
Mm.
And when you find out, why are you doing this? I don't know.
Mhm.
You should eat healthy, but the fries are appealing, and you put the fries in the mouth. Why did you do that? I don't know. It's because you have certain habits that are built in you, that's subconscious. It's automatic. And when you start breaking out from that, you hit what they call the terror barrier. It's something inside mentally on your subconscious that says, whoa, what the hell are you doing? Go back to comfort. So you found a way, and this is a real example in life. You found a way to demonstrate, to train or retrain yourself so you could go past the barrier. That terror barrier is only existing in our minds.
Mhm.
And if you could discipline yourself, you go past it, and then the world opens up, because now there's a piece of fear that disappears. Your subconscious says, I know that you're going to be doing different things, so I'm game on now. So
Yeah.
so this is the value, Nick. This is why I really waited for you to finish that statement. I mean, you're giving us so much nuggets of information. And the beauty with this too is, we're not talking to the unreachables, the people like Tony Robbins and these guys, brilliant guys, but sometimes we feel they're so far removed. You're like the everyday guy like you and me, and you're just doing extraordinary things, and brilliant way of sharing. So I'm really excited now. So you're developing, you're working this out. So let us know what sort of the evolution looks like now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And just to add to that, yeah, I would never listen to my fear, because my fear doesn't know what my potential is. So
That's it.
I just avoid that. And I understand that there are compromises, and I take those compromises, and I still do today in many ways. So from there, Mitch, I was in discovery mode. I tried investing in every type of investment you could imagine. I would do I would do rehabs. I would just do regular buy and holds, 3 units, 4 units. I would try doing JVs on some duplexes. I would start investing out of province because Ontario was getting a little overpriced for me. And then I was experimenting with JVs, and then all of a sudden multifamilies came into the picture, and I thought, wait a minute. Um, by multifamilies, folks, I mean 5 units and up. So if you hear me
Yes.
say multifamily, I mean 5 units and up.
Yes.
And what happened there was there was a major shift there. I realized that there was an opportunity for me to qualify for these buildings without having to prove any income coming in.
Yes.
It was a different situation. I could call the bank while they're having dinner at home, and it was a different relationship with the bank than one I've experienced
Right.
through residential mortgages. So I immediately, like saw an opportunity there, and
Yes.
and I took it. So what I did was, well, I probably, more than any, that I involve myself in many groups,
Yes.
and you'll notice that I'm everywhere because my mission is to surround myself with people that are doing bigger, better things, operating at a higher level, so that they can rub off on me and I can do the same.
Right.
One of the groups that I was in, it was doing just that. They were planting seeds in me that I was maybe still running on limited beliefs, and one of the cool things about one of the groups that I was in was that I met one of my business partners in that group. He lives in British Columbia, and what we had decided to do was focus on multifamily. So I had a broker, and we were working on a deal, and the deal didn't go through, but I learned so much from this broker about residential commercial financing,
Right.
how appraisals work, the actual price of expenses for home inspections, and
Yes.
how CMHC works, and how they underwrite properties. And I was just getting schooled. And I realized that my broker was calling banks on my behalf from Ontario and calling banks out in the East Coast. And I thought, well, hey, I can do the same. In
Right.
fact, I prefer to do the same because then
Right.
I can establish a relationship with these people. So I took over and started calling these banks and these credit unions, and I established a relationship with them. And it got to the point where it was like, oh, Nick's calling again. What do you want, Nick? I'm like, I want to know what you loan on this building. And they would just come back and tell me. I'm like,
Right.
that's the amazing information right there. This guy wants 1 million. My friend Tony's telling me RBC is going to give me 700,000. I'm like, that doesn't work for me, right? Like that was a
Right.
lot of valuable information. So
Yes.
I went from exploration, trying everything, into a clear path
Yeah.
of multifamily. So last year alone, we picked up about 8 apartment buildings across 3 different
Oh.
provinces. Yeah. So
Wow. So,
yeah,
congratulations. That is a massive number. 8 buildings,
yeah.
within this country. I mean, hats off to you, Nick. Hats off to you.
Oh, thanks, Mitch. I appreciate it. Yeah, and we were on a mission. I had a lot of support, and then my wife quit her job finally last year in February in
Right.
2021, and she joined our team full time. So she asset manages the East Coast properties. So if anyone is interested in asset managing for another company, which is, by the way, a great way to get into real estate. See, a lot of people start off doing it like I did, where we did it on our own. I did everything. I was selecting the tenants. I was painting the trims. The walls. I was,
Yeah.
breaking into the bathroom at 11 at night because the tenant locked themselves out or something. I'd go crawling
Right.
through the window. Like I was doing all that stuff. And you know, um,
Yeah.
when you're trying to scale, you
Yes.
can't because you're working in your business. So eventually, when you're at my level, you need an asset manager. So, if you're a real estate investor listening to this right now, and you're thinking, well, hey, I like, I don't know where to start, or this is a bit overwhelming. I would encourage you to consider just focusing in on one thing that you're good at and bringing that to either a team or creating a team of other people that are bringing other pieces, but you're at this. So let's say, for example, you don't mind asset management. And by the way, asset management to me is defined by overseeing the property manager, overseeing the books, overseeing the renovation, the tenant turnover, reconciling the books with the bookkeeper, just running the building, basically. There are so many people out there in my position that need an asset manager. So I often encourage people to consider being an asset manager, and attaching yourself to a bigger group. But at any rate, that I can go into that all day long. But at any rate, my wife quit. She asset manages our East Coast buildings, and we were investing across Canada last year. And then the prices seemed to get a little out of hand. I mean, we were buying buildings for 70 to 80K a door out in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia.
Right.
And then that prices kept rising to 100, 110, 130K a door in some cases. So we moved
Yes.
over to Saskatchewan. We'd buy an 8 unit for 450 or a 12 unit
Right.
for 950 undervalued. But then those prices started rising as well. So
Yes.
flew in my business partner, and we thought, hey, we need to pivot. And I think we need to pivot into the States. And this time I didn't ask, how are we going to do this? I asked, who do we know that we can do this with? And
Right.
yeah, and then so that's where we are today. I'm now just focusing on investing in the United States of America.
Oh my God. So okay. So Nick, I mean, I love this journey, man. Like this is such a brilliant and so unique and so Nick, right? You're just like, it's like I hit a hurdle, let me get a resolution. I hit a hurdle, let me get a resolution. But I like how you're framing it back to people too, right?
Uh,
Because yes, you need to develop it. And I often, when I coach people too, I say, listen, you got to remember you don't only be working in your business, you want to be working on your business,
mhm.
right? And I share your fundamentals, I share your philosophy. I just don't want to be laughing out too loud as you're talking, because when you're talking about the fact that you and your wife are partnered up in this, I mean, I'm in the same boat. My wife does all of the asset management, she does the design, she does the accounting because her background is in the accounting world, right? And this is what you have to do. If you want to go to the next level, if you want to bring this business to really the forefront, you need to be structured in such a way. And we understand resources can be an issue until you grow and develop. But as you are growing, you got to keep thinking, how do I better? How do I get above this by not being in the day to day? The day to day would give you success, but it doesn't allow you to grow, because growing or building a business is a job by itself. And equally important is you want to have successful properties. You want to know that it's operating efficiently, that you're not mismanaging anything, that the tenants are in a good place so that they're paying their rent. So it really does come together. This is why you can literally build out your business after you've acquired a certain number of properties. And if you're hitting eight, clearly you need some people around you. And then now if you're going into the US, which is really exciting. So tell us about this, Nick. Like, we understand the why. Definitely agree with you that there probably are more potential in terms of what you can do and where you can go and how you can do it. So
Mhm.
what is it that you see for the vision? How do we all sort of get behind you and make this a reality?
Oh, I love that. That's a great question. The reason why we moved and pivoted to the States is because we needed deal flow, and the deal flow seemed to dry up in Canada. I'm not saying there aren't deals in here. I'm just saying trying to make them work was getting extremely difficult. And I've recognized that feeling. I've recognized that position I was in because I've been in it many times before. And what I had done
Right,
is I pivoted to another market. So I knew what I had to do. I need to pivot to another market. So, I wanted to explore the States for deal flow. We had just hired a CEO. I just hired admins. I couldn't, like, the money can't stop coming in. The deal flow couldn't stop. That wasn't an option. So,
right,
I partnered up with Marcin Drodes because many people had informed me that, I should, you need to meet Marcin. Oh, you raise capital, you should meet Marcin. Everyone's like, you should meet Marcin. So I'm like, okay, I need to meet Marcin. I found my who,
right.
like that was the
Yeah.
problem. Like I need a who, now I got him. So he was having a boots on the ground in Florida, and I went down and checked it out. And, he would walk us through the properties. I would hear him ask questions to the realtor. He would show us how to underwrite the properties, show us the structure. And I realized, yeah, I'm not going to figure this out. Like the how to invest in the US was too much pressure on me. And
Right,
I'm going to bring this back home and explain it to my teammates. And we're just going to go like, no, that's not going to happen. So
right.
over a game of ping pong, we formed a bit of a bond, and I saw an opportunity. He was building up a team. He just had a newborn, and he too was feeling the need to bring more people into his camp. So I met him at the right place in the right time. And what I bring to the table is I've really honed in on what value add I bring. So when I see
Right.
an opportunity, I know exactly how I'm going to fit in. And just for transparency,
Yeah,
for those of you thinking what it is that I do, I just connect people, and that's simply it. I know a lot of people. I've lived a lot of lives,
yeah.
and I connect people. So I raise capital, I do investor relations, and I introduce passive investors to amazing returns. Basically, is what I do. So, real estate investing for me now is simply talking to people. So, and this is a whole other conversation, but I don't look at the return on investment anymore. I look on the return of lifestyle. So, what I've done is I've set out to achieve my perfect day. And I'm happy to say that I'm already here, which is amazing because I'm
Yeah.
not trying to get somewhere. I'm already here. I live in
Right.
a beautiful lake in Halifax, Nova Scotia, just 20 minutes outside. After our
Wonderful.
talk here, I'm going to go kayaking, and then I'm going to go to a Bryan Adams concert in town. So I'm only 20 minutes away.
Nice.
Anyway, my point is that Mitch, I used to paint the trims. I used to paint the walls. I used to select the tenants. I used to go to landlord tenant board and lose. I used to
Yes.
do all those things. But the truth is that there are other people that do that stuff better. B, I didn't
Yes.
enjoy doing that stuff.
Right.
And I realized that you could live life by design. So last
Oh,
year I set out to do that. And what I did is I gave away pieces of my equity to have other people that are smarter than me come in and do it. So yeah, I run a
right.
business, but at the end
Yeah.
of the day, I'm a C student. So rather than delegating admins,
Yes.
my systems, what I do is I hire people that are smarter than me, people that have gone to university that I have A's, and
Yep.
I've them in my business to kind of whip me in shape and clean up my back end and put me on
Right.
CRM and oversee everything.
Yeah.
And what that's allowed me to do, Mitch, is simply just hone in on that one thing that I'm good at, which is connecting people, communicating with people, meeting new people, introducing people to new investments, introducing people to me, and you know, we all we all find the properties, we run the numbers, we find the power team, and then and then we raise the capital. And it's just
Right.
like an afterthought, when in fact it
Yeah.
raising capital deserves all of your attention. It absolutely does. And so what I've done is I've just given away all those pieces so that I can just hone in on that. So real estate investing for me now is just simply communicating with people and talking to people and introducing them to some of the investments that we have.
Incredible. That is incredible. So thank you so much, Nick. That the value that you brought for us today is just beyond belief. Thank you for sharing your story so intimately. I think there's a lot of value in people coming and understanding your journey and recognizing something in themselves in that journey as well, and know that you can do it as well. So absolutely love that. So, again, is there any sort of last parting words that you want to give us before we say our goodbyes?
Well, Mitch, I just want to commend you as well for helping people develop, because people have limited beliefs. And, so your contribution and what you're doing, conquering their limited beliefs, allowing them, just being around them to have that support is amazing. So kudos to you for that. And thank you for initiating this conversation. I've always enjoyed you, following you. So I really appreciate being on the show. And I think my marketing team would kill me if I didn't mention that I have opportunities. And if you'd like to learn more about that, please feel free to reach out to Nick at nscrealestate.com. Also, please follow me on Facebook or social media. Again, my name is Nick Skalkos. So Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. You can sign up to my newsletter. You can visit my website, nickscalcos.com. My newsletter is filled with tons of market tips, strategies, as well as insider events and deals that I have on the go. So visit my website, like me on social, sign up for my newsletter, and let's keep connected.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Nick. And to our viewers, I will be putting all his information, his contact information in our comments below so you can get access to him. And once again, being part of the Pineapple Podcast, thank you very much. Remember, it's all about being tough on the outside, sweet on the inside, and wear your gratitude proudly on the crown. So, again, folks, thank you so much. And this is Mitch wishing you continued success in your real estate journey. Take care.
Thank you.